Seasons change, and I've tried hard just to soften you. Seasons change, but I've grown tired trying to change for you. 'Cause I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. 'Cause I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. Hello. Welcome to Comic Book Herald Live. Hey, everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You are listening to comicbookherald.com's live episode the week of July 11th. Today, we are going to talk about New X-Men #1 From the Ashes, first issue. We're going to talk about Ultimates #2, what's going on in the Ultimate Universe. We are also going to cover the comic of the week, the new comic that I enjoyed the most this week, as well as the comics catch-up of the week. Okay, we're going to go into what is the older comic that I read recently that I enjoyed the most. We're going to rank them both as we do a little, let's cue it up, Taxman, Mr. CBH. Probably can't sing all those lyrics because they're probably litigious. All right, we're going to do all that today. Thanks to those of you who are able to join live. Much appreciated. Getting your comments, getting your thoughts, get in the chat here, and I will address what I can. Justin here says already, I think Ultimates is my favorite 6160 book. You can take the 6160 out of it. It is just on its way to the best Marvel ongoing comic right now. The Ultimate Universe is the Marvel Universe to pay attention. It is the Marvel Universe at this point. I've been saying it for months now that is the trend we were on, was the Ultimate Universe is the Marvel Universe that we should pay any mind, and it is just so wholly the only one to pay attention to at this point. So you know what? Let's just dive right in. Get in your questions, get in your thoughts, do what you got to do here in the chat. I will happily address what I can. But we're going to start out talking a little comics, okay? We're going to talk Ultimates 2 today. Or Ultimates #2, rather. This is actually Ultimates Volume 3. No, more than that. It's been several Ultimates. That's not the point. Let's talk X-Men first. Should we do it? Let's do it. Some of you were like, is he going to talk about X-Men #1 today? You know, oh, Dave's a Krakoa head. Will he find time for the From the Ashes era? I will. Of course, I will find time for the From the Ashes era. I 100% want to hear from all of you what you thought of X-Men #1. This is by Jed MacKay, Ryan Stegman. You got Marty Gracia on colors. This is, of course, the new post-Krakoa era of X-Men. Okay, here's what I tweeted as a thought on the matter as I was seeing the reviews roll in, and I hadn't even read it yet, okay? But it stands true, and it's definitely true, I think, even truer after reading it. I probably wouldn't have written it as politely as I did if I'd already read it, frankly. The truth of X-Men #1 today is that even in the best of circumstances, it was always going to be near impossible to follow up Krakoa through a conventional, relaunched new #1. Right? Think about that for a second. House and Powers set a perhaps unrealizable precedent that new eras of X-Men should begin with vision-stating events, right? Anything else, I think, by comparison, feels really trite. I think it feels really, really trite to just start with, like, here's a normal #1 issue, you know? Is that an unfair bar to have set? Was it a mistake to have set the bar that high? Maybe. like conventional new #1 issues are typically how Marvel does things. You know, like throughout X-Men history, that is how you know we are rolling from era to era. You know, but House and Powers in 2019, 5 years ago, basically to the day, set this precedent that it was like, no, actually, you can launch this thing with an amazing vision of what the era is going to be. Many of the creators in the From the Ashes lineup will craft some nice X-Men comics. I'm particularly excited for what Storm could be and Sentinels, because I really like Alex Pockniddle's comics. I think they will do a nice job. I hope some go on to be great, right? There will be, like, here's the thing. You're throwing out 11, by the time all said and done, maybe 15 X-Men comics in this From the Ashes era. One of these is going to be a fan favorite, really good, recommended X-Men comic. Like, the chances that we go 0 for 15 are 0, okay? One of these will go down as like, oh, hey, remember Pocknadell's Sentinel? That was awesome. That book had no business being that good. That's going to happen. That's absolutely going to happen, okay? But I do not envy the uphill climb these creators face, which is kicking off an era through what feels like trite and conventional means. It was always going to be hard to follow Krakoa, and X-Men #1 doesn't do it. It doesn't have the juice, okay? McKay, Stegman, Gracia, God bless them, all have made comics that I've really enjoyed. This isn't about ability. This isn't about potential. That first issue of X-Men, there's nothing about it that made me want to read a second issue. Step outside of the X-Men sphere for a second with me. Hard to do, I know, when you're a diehard, okay? But step outside of the X-Men sphere. Imagine this is a new Image #1. Okay? It's a new comic book. And that's what you read. Are you buying that second issue? Some of you, maybe so. For me, a super hard no. Wouldn't even think about it. Truly. Now, it's kind of an unfair thought experiment because there's so much wrapped in the history of X-Men and all the continuity work that needs to be done and yada, 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 right? But purely on does this have something about it that feels special? Is it going somewhere that I can't wait to see what this journey is going to look like? And the first issue, it absolutely does not. There's small things that I can be complimentary towards. Gracia's continued use of the way light reflects in the atmosphere in superhero comics looks amazing. Jen McCabe writes a really good Cyclops voice. I think there's a lot of stuff like that. Vision-wise, though, I genuinely am I don't have any interest in reading a second issue. And I don't know. I think there are some of you who will just assume that I'm going into this with a negative attitude because I enjoyed Krakoa so much. I think there's a weird misunderstanding or sort of mischaracterization of myself. Your Honor, I have been mischaracterized. No, I think with the idea of the Krakoa fandom and an inability to let go and oh, they just like Krakoa, they won't From the Ashes. Krakoa was a really hard ride for the final year, right? Even those of us who loved House and Powers and committed fully to the potential of the early days, we know it was time to get out. It was well past time to get out. I was not enjoying the Krakoa ride anymore. I'm ready for something new. That's the thing. Is if Tom Brevoort, as the new editor of X-Men, is I have brought in these amazing creators, and we are launching with this event issue, and this is our mission, and this is our vision, and it was something that felt unique, or it had potential, or it hadn't been done before, or even just was ambitious in any way, I'd absolutely be yes, I would love to give that a shot. The ambitions of From the Ashes, and people have been saying it for months, the ambitions are to make as broad a swath of humanity and X-Men readers happy as possible. The ambitions of the From the Ashes X-Men era are to sell as many X-Men comics as possible. Now, should that be the Marvel mission? Financially, yes. But House and Powers sold boatloads more than they expected. Not because it set out with the core goal of making as many people happy as possible. of making as many longtime X-Men readers comfortable as possible. Right? Quality wins out sometimes. Not always. Lots of things that are very mediocre can sell very, very well. Right? Shouts to Michael Bay. You can make a lot of money and be a lot of mid. Right? It happens all the time in art. But sometimes in comics and in the big two, quality wins out. I do not, from this era, get any coherent vision. The vision seems to be there is no vision, and that everyone is in fact doing their own thing. And like, what about? I'm being harsher on this than I need to be, because I went into this with low expectations. It was actually lower than I even expected, right? And I'm not. I guess part of it too is just like I'm not the type of comics reader at this point who needs an X-Men #1 like this. I think maybe for a lot of, fans have a hard time hearing something they enjoyed is not good, or that someone is critical of it, right? It feels like an indictment of your own taste, of your own person. It's hard not to take it personal, right? Although I think it's quite important not to. I talk about this plenty, and it's taken me many years, but if there's one thing I've learned running Comic Book Herald for almost 15 years, it's that everyone's tastes will never align. Like, it just won't happen. Your least favorite comic is someone's favorite comic, and vice versa. So I'm well aware that that will happen with X-Men #1. I'm seeing in the chat here several people saying it was very mid, several people saying it was good. The most common sentiment seems to be what Travis says here. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. And I think my main point of contention here is that is the consensus that I have seen from the most reviewers, from the most readers, from the most people that I follow and that I listen to. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. And what I would say is you don't need to settle for that level of mediocrity in comics. And I think too many Marvel readers, too many X-Men readers are trained on being like, well, this is X-Men though, so I guess I'll just sit in the middle. And I guess I'll just keep hoping that at some point it's better than wasn't bad, wasn't great. And you don't need to do that. There are too many good comics. Too many. Way too many. For you to feel like you need to do that. It was interesting to read this in tandem with Ultimates #2. Comic from Dennis Camp, Juan Fergari, Federico Blee, in the Ultimate side of the universe, a series that I've been hyping up and that I've been excited about. Because it was kind of a crucial comic for me after reading X-Men #1. I read X-Men #1 first. And I was kind of searching my feelings, as I've been doing, live on air here for months now, in terms of like, am I just done with superhero comics? Like, is that, because, there's definitely a part of me that is like, the more I read from other sources, like the more stuff I read just outside of comics and then just different kinds of comics, like the more I become done with superheroes. And I'm like, am I just kind of done for the moment? And this is an experience that hits virtually every comics reader I've ever seen. I remember being in my early 20s and being like, I'll never be like them. And of course, here I am. But then I read Ultimates #2 and I loved it. So no, like, I'm still here for superhero comics of a certain flavor. I'm still here for alternate universe realities playing with the core concepts of Marvel and seeing the Maker stand up to Galactus. I'm still here for a comic that in one issue weaves Captain America learning about the history of the world the Maker has shaped and rescuing America Chavez from Midas, a.k.a. the President of the United States, a.k.a. a Grant Morrison concept and character creation, a.k.a. the guy who turns things to gold wearing Tony Stark's gold original Iron Man armor. Come on! Brilliant! This comic had things to say about America, about commerce, about capitalism, and it's still doing Shang-Chi-ass Punisher in the 70s. Come on! When these comics have the juice, it's a blast. It's a flippin' blast. I still love it. I still love it. I just don't love X-Men #1. I mean, my expectations for From the Ashes are like I guess From the Ashes is a good era descriptor because it's like the franchise has been burned down. We have soot all over our shoes. And like it's time to go in and clean off. Like it's time to come inside. Everybody rinse off. Take a shower. Take a nap, go to bed. You know, in 18 months when they reboot X-Men again, let's see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like. I'm going to read the first issue of probably all these series because as I sit here and tell you, don't do that to yourself, I am absolutely exactly the same kind of fan that will do that to myself. I cannot follow my own advice, right? Genuinely, I think Storm's going to be good. I think Sentinel's going to be good. I've got like weird. I don't know the high hopes, but I've got some interest in Phoenix. I've liked a lot of Stephanie Phillips comics. You know, but it's just like I don't know. Have an ambition. Have a goal. Like the goal shouldn't just be like I want to make a lot of X-Men readers comfortable and familiar. You know, I mean, X-Men 97 transcended that. X-Men 97 excelled because it said, we're going to make you familiar and comfortable, but we're also going to push on that. Does anybody know what Boo DeMayo did, by the way? Has that been reported on at all? Or is that just like the worst kept secret or best kept secret in like the history of like the MCU? Like all the MCU's dirty laundry is just constantly being discussed to the point where it's way too much, frankly, right? Like I know more through osmosis. I don't even follow it that close anymore. I know more through osmosis of, you know, the Blade, like 5 different scripts that they've tried than I should, right? What did DeMayo do? Like, because here's the thing. I'm not ready for X-Men. X-Men, they announced, like, oh, they found their new showrunner for season 3. And I'm like, I kind of want to know what this guy did before we move on because, like, I liked that. I liked that X-Men 97. It was really good. Now, if the person did something incredibly unprofessional and, you know, I'm not going to sit here and absolve them of that just because the thing was good, right? We don't just want to give somebody a pass because we like their work. Shouts to Neil Gaiman and sexual assault allegations, which I really don't know how to parse and fathom at this point because it seems if you're just hearing about these now, there's a source out there that has this seemingly thoroughly researched sexual assault allegations against Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman, of course, the author of Sandman, second best comic of all time, as well as just loads of other extremely, extremely popular material. And it's like, on the surface, I'm like, okay, yes, let's believe the women saying he assaulted them. And damn it, like that, I've loved Gaiman's work, but you know what? It's more important to respect human beings than it is to celebrate my own fandom of things. But I also am getting real sketchy vibes, and I'm seeing sketchy things about this reporting. So that one to me is a wait and see. You know, but with DeMayo, it's like I have no idea. Nobody seems to have any idea. No one seems to have any idea. And I don't know. It's a weird atmosphere. Anyway, that's all, of course, real and human behavior, and not at all our fantasies of these individuals running around and stabbing things. But yeah, I don't know. X-Men #1 rather. Like I would like to see a vision. Listen, I really like Jed McKay's work. I had Jed McKay on CBH interviews, one of the earlier interviews I did, because I enjoyed Black Cat so much, because I enjoyed the early Moon Knight at that point so much. It's been a great Moon Knight run. And I don't know that Jed's a good fit on team books, or that their vision is coming through the way you'd want it to. I mean, we got like what, 12 issues of Avengers and now an X-Men era. Like, these are real high profile at bats. You know? This is like cream of the crop property here in Earth 616. And something's got to click here, because the skill and the ability of McKay on Black Cat and Moon Knight is not coming through on these books. I think a lot of people don't want to say that because they like Jen McKay and they like the work and they're rooting for him. I am too. But it's not coming through. You know, just bring some ambition to the party, and if we swing and miss, I'll celebrate that. Good at bat, kid. Right? You get one of those. You get a big cut. You'd love to see it. You know, the saddest thing in Little, y'all remember this? The saddest thing in Little League is the kid who just won't swing the bat. Is there anything sadder? Right? Good eye. Is there anything sadder than the kid who just won't take a cut? You know? Whose on-base percentage, like, is making Billy Bean's wet dreams. Right? Just sick OBP in second grade. But, like, the whole point of getting out there is to take a swing. It's the whole point. Occasionally, you still want, you know, once you get skilled enough, right? You don't want to swing at everything. You look like a fool. But there's nothing sadder than the kid who just will not swing. Take a cut. Ex-office. From the ashes. Take some cuts. All right? I'm not walking in it. My strike zone's expanding. Do you think Marvel regrets House of X and Powers of 10? Do you think they regret allowing the bar for X-Men to be set so high? I genuinely kind of wonder. Because they're not going to be able to get back there. You know, it's not lost on me that the things I've celebrated in Marvel from 2019 to 2024, like the main things I've celebrated are just Hickman curated Marvel Comics. It is not lost on me that during the Akira Yoshida administration, that basically the stuff I've enjoyed is just Hickman curated lines. I saw a Popverse article, shouts to Popverse reporting, that CB Skibalski was saying they needed the industry needs a reset. And I did not see in that interview Akira-san suggest that reset should be Marvel's new editor-in-chief. Because you look at the Sobalski administration, 2018 to 2024 to date, we have fresh start in 2018. You get a lot of carryover ideas, a lot of things that were already in motion. A lot of good stuff. Venom, Cates and Stegman, Immortal Hulk, Ewing and Bennett and company. You get House and Powers launching shortly after, like a year later. You got the Zdarsky on Daredevil. Great one. And as the years have gone by, those gaps have not been filled in. Like 616 is in dire straits right now. It's rough. And then you get Hickman again to come in, and everyone's looking up, save us. And he curates the Ultimate line with editor Will Moss, and they get really talented up-and-coming creators to do their thing on a handful of Marvel books. And all of a sudden, you've got another worthwhile Marvel universe in the Ultimate Universe. A new editor-in-chief would be nice as a Marvel fan. Wouldn't hate it. Ultimates #2 is very good. The series is going to continue to be very good. It's a very difficult, I think, race right now to say what's better. Ultimates or Ultimate Spider-Man. I think because Ultimate Spider-Man has 6 issues out and Hickman and Giacchetto have knocked several of those out of the park, I mean, I think you kind of got to give the nod to Ultimate Spider-Man. But Ultimates clearly has the potential to be the best of Marvel. You got, I mean, just on vision and sort of artistic prowess alone, you got to give Momoko's Ultimate X-Men a shout. right? And then you got Ryan North still doing yeoman's work on a really good Fantastic Four run. But it's like, that's kind of a miracle. I've also got the images in here of Birds of Prey. Because like I said, I was searching my feelings. I was trying to figure out, like, am I just done with Soups? And so I went back. And I'm like, I'm going to catch up on the Kelly Thompson, Leonardo Romero Birds of Prey. On the DC side, that rules. Really flipping good. Again, you get creators in sync. You give them space to work. Let them do that. Man, Leonardo Romero is so good. Is so good. The hardest thing about reading Birds of Prey, and I was catching up on the DC Universe app, the hardest thing about it is he does like the first 5-issue arc, I want to say, and then he just does covers, like pretty much to date. And listen, no shade to whoever the villains are. It's not even the point. It's just like losing Romero. Like, that's such a blow. It's such a blow. And it's kind of just how the direct market works these days. But like, can you imagine even 12 years ago when you get Thompson and Romero on that book for at least like 18 issues? It'd be so much better. It'd be so much better. I do love that we're having a big Barda renaissance. Barda's awesome in that book. At one point, she's naked, and they just have like the Kirby Barda face covering her butt, which is hilarious. Pulled from Hawkeye, Fraction Aha, great series. You know what else is good? Ngozi, I don't know her last name. She did Check Please, the webcomic. She has a Barda YA graphic novel out right now. DC's got all those YA books, which are always like kind of hit or miss for me because guess what? I'm not YA. But the Barda one's really damn good. That's one of my favorite comics of the year. If you like Kirby Fourth World stuff, you like Big Barda and Scott Free, Mr. Miracle's relationship, check out that Barda book. It's YA, yes, but like I thought it was good Female Fury, good Apocalypse, Darkseid stuff. If you dig that. Worth the time. One of the better comics of 2024. All right, get in your questions. Get in your thoughts. Death Zezima says, I already miss Krakoa. I don't actually miss it. I miss, like, again, just sort of like that promise of that moment where it was like, we are going to try for something so big and grand. That's what was really thrilling about the launch comics. I don't know. There has been a lot of revisionist history now, I think, of like, oh, none of the comics were good. The second House and Powers ended. Like, that's crazy talk, I think. That's hater talk. You know me, no hater. But I don't miss it, but I do miss the ideal and sort of that sense that like, oh, Marvel's actually going to go for it in ways they haven't before, because I'm not getting that, from other stuff. With the exception of the Ultimate Universe, a little bit. Which is the space where you're going to find that now. Like, they're actually going to try things. That's great. It's good. I love it. Woodrow says, turning Magneto into Professor X this issue was tacky. I don't know. Was it? That didn't move me one way or the other. I guess we kind of, we've seen in preview pages and stuff that more or less was happening. We know Professor X is persona non grata in this era of X-Men. It is. The part of, like, I don't miss Krakoa, but the part of it that probably is more frustrating after reading X-Men #1 is, like, y'all had to rush that thing into an absolute travesty for this. Like, we had to rush Krakoa so hard that it became an unreadable mess. Shouts to Fall of the House of X. For this, for From the Ashes, that part hurts a little bit. I'm not talking about an unlimited timescale. I'm not talking about let it run forever. But like, you could have given a less rushed timeline, especially when this is what you were sitting on. You're not sitting on House of X #1 here. Come on. People be talking about that book for decades before we all melt. Nobody's gonna be talking about this X-Men #1. That's too bad. I wish it was otherwise. All right. Boss asks, what do you think of the new costumes in action? I am so not a costume guy. I have learned over the years that costuming is very important to fandom. It's important to like diehard Soups fans, and it's also like really important to the queer community. I was a little, I don't know what the word is. I always thought of it as kind of just like a nerd fan thing. And then I realized, like, oh no, this is more important to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, and cosplay is super important. So I don't want to be dismissive of it and like disrespectful, but I just don't. It has never been part of why I read superhero comics. It's not like I don't like, listen, I'll go outside in a Flash costume. I'll run around the blocks fastest you've ever seen. But like, I just don't care. It doesn't connect with me. Sorry. Not my thing. Not a fashion guy. As you may have been able to tell from me wearing the same like Bulls hat and t-shirt on every live stream for 7 months in a row. I don't know that I'm quite like needs Jonathan and the Queer Eye Gang to step in. You know? But like, if I was suddenly like a bachelor, we wouldn't be too far off. Boss says Dave is channeling his inner K-Dot and saying to the X-Men, I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. Come on, I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I said I like the voice for Cyclops, the Illyana Juggernaut Rasputin. The Illyana Juggernaut relationship was cute. Right? I'm not out here saying, like, everyone involved is competent and good, and that's why the review you keep seeing is fine. But fine is not something you need to settle for. And in fact, you should want more. And I do want more. Which is why I'll be reading a lot of Ultimates and no more of X-Men until I hear, like, there is some very interesting reason to do so. You know? Just the way that it goes. All right. Pepto says, I think he's got most of the voices really down, but the story is something we've seen 1,000 times. Yeah, I mean, that's the killer here, right? Like, if you told me this is X-Men #1 from 2011, you know, aside from references to things like Krakoa or Orcus in passing, absolutely it could be. Absolutely it could be. And that kills. That sucks. Like, that is such a bummer. But it's kind of what I expected. I'm glad Ultimates 2 is really good. You know, because it's not, that's the other thing is, like, you know, kind of take it for granted that, like, okay, Dennis Camp wrote this really amazing graphic novel with Stephen Moran, 20th Century Men. But, like, just because, like, you wrote one amazing thing, and I know Dennis has done other work, but, like, it doesn't mean you're going to step in and just knock all your soup stuff out of the park. You know, we see this all the time. Like, Matt Rosenberg's a good example. 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank is straight up one of my favorite comics of all time with Tyler Boss. They do that with Black Mask. All of a sudden, they get a glow up to, like, Marvel and DC work. Some of it I've enjoyed plenty. Like, this isn't a huge knock on Rosenberg, but they got a ton of at-bats, and none of it measured up to that original graphic novel. Like, none of it was like, oh, this is the same person who wrote one of my favorite graphic novels of all time. And now they're out here doing What's the Furthest Place from Here, and it's like, oh, yeah, I think I like Rosenberg just in the mode of doing creator-owned books with Boss, you know, and superhero wasn't necessarily, like, an amazing fit. And that's fine for my tastes. Other people might disagree. That's okay. You know? But it's really interesting to see, like, Camp come in and be like, oh, yeah, and he's great at this too. Right? Like that's, we should not take that for granted. Because it's really exciting when a Marvel or a DC does hit on, like, because it's been really hard for them to replenish talent for a number of years now. I don't know exactly when the line is here. It was just kind of that, like, 2015 Secret Wars, going to the Trump era, 2016, all new, all different, Axel Alonso gets fired, right? Like, is that when the talent drain just kind of, like, hits and then COVID exacerbates everything, you know? So it's very exciting that they're like, wow, Dennis Camp wrote this amazing thing. Let's give him some genuine at-bats. And he comes in and he nails it. We should absolutely celebrate that. I want to see more of that from Marvel, right? you got creators out here like a Zoe Thorogood or like a Dave Baker who are dropping some of the best comics of the decade. Like, throw piles of money their way. See if they were interested. I don't think Marvel's throwing piles of money anybody's way these days. Doesn't seem like. But they should be able to. Randall asked, did that actually finish? I think you're talking in the comments here. Justin says, Dennis's Bloodshot is bonkers good. Is that right? I haven't touched a Valiant comic in maybe a decade. If you're telling me the Bloodshot's really good, do I need to go back? Do I have to watch the Vin Diesel movie first? Y'all remember when Valiant was hot and they made a Vin Diesel Bloodshot movie and it was so bad that they got they had to go to the China League to play. Literally, I think they got bought by a Chinese company, but they're like an NBA player who it's so bad in the States, nobody wants them that they got to leave the country to go play. That's what happened to Valiant. All right. Rez says, Marvel seems like a mess right now. It's a tough one because, you have the crowds of losers who are like, Marvel sucks, Marvel sucks, Marvel sucks. And then it's like, well, if you say it every hour on the hour for 20 years, there are going to be stretches where you're right. I think we happen to be in one of those stretches minus the Ultimate Universe. There needs to be new leadership. There needs to be new ambitions. I think it's going to be a while before it comes back. Marvel Comics are moving into MCU synergy mode in a way that we have never seen. I know you think we've been living it, but we have not really been living it. And we're going to be now. Okay? That is happening. It is in progress. It is here. The Marvel Comics MCU synergies. And I just don't think that spells... I don't think that offers a lot of creative versatility and just freedom. And then combined with just the challenges of the direct market, the move towards miniseries of 5 issues, no, I'm not super optimistic for this iteration of Marvel in 616. So that's why I choose to celebrate and really highlight how damn good the Ultimate Universe is. You should be buying every single one of those books every month and enjoying them while you can. I did see, we haven't talked about this. I did see that, so there's this rumored DC Absolute Universe coming out. I think this is one of the Bleeding Cool rumors that, whatever, I'm not doing Bleeding Cool thing. Anyway, they dropped this a while ago. It seems to be a real thing. But I saw the rumor that they released recently was Al Ewing's going to be part of the Ultimate, or not, whatever DC's Absolute Universe is going to be. It was Jason Aaron, Al Ewing, Scott Snyder, Dennis Camp, actually, we've been talking about. And it got me wondering and thinking, and a lot of people talking, is Al jumping from Marvel to DC? Is it going to be a full-on jump? Is it going to be I'm doing one at each? What I realized, or what I found out from a colleague, is Al actually just released in the 2000 AD Thrillcast podcast they were on. He revealed that his Marvel exclusive is up. So Al Ewing is officially free. He's a free agent. And he can write comics wherever he wants. And I wonder, in addition to DC things, if this could mean more creator-owned work from Al Ewing, which I would be most excited by. Because there's a creator who needs, I think, legacy-wise, some knockout creator-owned books. They're in prime position for that. I think if you're going to have, a move away from licensed stuff to sort of cement, who could the next big names be? Al Ewing's definitely at the top of that list for me. But, there's no way I'm not reading absolute DC Al Ewing stuff. I don't care what could be The Question, could be Legion of Superheroes, could be Green Lantern. I do not care. I will read it. It's probably gonna be it's probably gonna be Dead Man, where I'm damn it. Okay, I guess. It's The Creeper. by Al Ewing. Like, all right. And then I'll love it. Silhouette says, which book will outright for Absolute DC maybe reinvent the Justice League? What's the odds-on favorite here? I would say Green Lantern. You get Cosmic. You get that whole side of things. I feel like that's kind of Al's reputation as far as that goes. Obviously, they've done a lot of stuff. I don't see them actually leaving Marvel in the short term just because Immortal Thor is only, it's in the teens. And Al has talked about a giant long run. Like, it would be a fairly dramatic falling out, I think, if they cut Immortal Thor super short. But then it's like, I don't know, that could happen anyway. Like, they could get to issue 18 and Marvel would be like, yep, sales aren't good. You're done. So if that's in the works anyway, what would you most want to see Al do on the DC side? I'd love to hear about it. All right. Let's do the best comic of the week. Should we do it? Let's do it. The best comic book of this week. So every month, I do my favorite comics of the month, and I send those out in the CBH newsletter, which you should subscribe to on Comic Book Herald, and I also post them for free. The newsletter is also free, but I post them on CBH as well every month. I did my mid-year list recently, was published on comicbookherald.com, so you can get it all in one easy place. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about my favorite comic book of the week, and then we are going to rank the favorite new and the favorite classic catch-up here live for tax time on the CBH's best comics of all time. I've got numbers here, just kind of the range I want to start having the conversation. And so the first book we're going to look at, we'll start with the new one. And this is The Last Delivery by Evan Dom. This is my favorite new comic that I read over the past week. It is quite good. If you don't know Evan Dom, fantastic cartoonist. You can read a lot of their stuff actually for free on Webtoon. You got Vatu, and there's a newer one now coming out. They did The Harrowing of Hell, which is very good graphic novel from Iron Circus. This one's also Iron Circus. The Last Delivery is a gorgeous yet sinister glimpse into the haunted house of Dom's imagination. It's an anthropomorphic fantasy world. Finds an innocent turtle delivery boy seeking to deliver a single package only to sink deeper and deeper into an Edgar Allan Poe-esque party of horrors where each new partygoer seems more deranged than the next. Give you a look at some of the artwork here. Right? So you got this little turtle boy. He's adventuring through this horrible, horrible house of horrors. It feels like it should be more YA and cutesy and like good times, and it is not. Like it's kind of nausea-inducing because it's tense. There's it's kind of like seeing Kermit the Frog get tortured endlessly. So if you're into that, if you're like, I've always wanted to see that, this is the book for you. Dom excels here, especially through this flexible metaphor for the impact of the grotesquely rich on the genuine salt of the earth, committed to their meaningless work of this poor delivery boy just trying to get his package somewhere on time in his damn dead-end job. It's gorgeous. It's clever. It's an easy, fun new read, and again, it's kind of nausea-inducing, but in a way that means I think the metaphor is working. If that makes sense. So let's rank this puppy. We're going to put Evan Dom's The Last Delivery. Now, I said we're going to start looking in the 550 area on the best comics of all time. I only published the top 500, so that's going to put it in not high enough territory to be published live, but we'll see where it actually nets out. The Last Delivery, new book. I like it more than most of what I'm seeing here. I'm scrolling here to see, when am I going to hit a wall? When am I going to find some? Superman for All Seasons, that's tough. That's a good one. It's better. Yeah, it's better than. This is tough. Okay. We're gonna put it. Man, I have Cosmic Ghost Rider real high. Like real high. That's the Tiny Kate's Dylan Burnett 5-issue introduction of Cosmic Ghost Rider spinning out of their Thanos Wins run. That's concerning. But nonetheless, we're going to put it right below Superman for All Seasons and right above Cosmic Ghost Rider as the new 521, which again is pretty good. I mean, look at all these comics we got ranked. Look at all these puppies. Right now, the list goes to from Watchmen at 1 to 1096 Marvel. Again, 1096, we're going to rank 2. That's nearly going to get us to 1100. Okay, so the last delivery. You're going up to 521. Congratulations. That one's definitely going to be on the June picks. Again, it's out right now from Iron Circus Comics. Find it at your leisure. Open Mike Eagle here asks, is it paperback only? As far as I can tell. Oh, you know what? I should have been. I have the paperback. I don't know that there's a hardcover. I'm not sure that's in the Iron Circus plan here. I've got the last delivery here. I could have been showing you actual pages like a professional. So, of course, I'm not doing that. Yeah, so it's, it's a nice size, a nice consistency. I dug it a lot. It's gorgeous work. Dom's art is awesome. If you haven't checked it out before, it is worth seeing in print. Okay, my classic comic catch-up is Here by Richard McGuire. Here by Richard McGuire. You may have seen the trailer recently, the 2024 movie from this Forrest Gump crew, Robert Zemeckis, Tom Hanks, Robin Wright. This brought a renewed awareness of McGuire's comics work, or in my case, it was the first awareness I have ever had because I had never heard of neither McGuire nor Here. If you saw the trailer for this upcoming movie, you might kind of get it, but here's the premise. McGuire tells the story of one room, one area of space over the course of multiple years. So you see what was happening in the room in 1957, and then the next panel might be what's happening in that room in 1989, then 2024, then 3 million BC, and on and on and on. It can go anywhere in time. If that sounds simple, it is a shockingly innovative approach because McGuire keeps showing new ways to pile panels on top of each other, to show the room, but with the corner of it split into the 80s, the mainframe in the 70s, the window in the 1700s, right? To give you a sense of what I'm talking about here, let's just look at the puppy. See if we can find a good example. So here's one singular image of everything's happening in 1907. Here's a better one. And most of the main graphic novel, the actual hardcover graphic novel, looks like this. So you got the main room set in 60. You got a panel of a woman walking through it in 57. You got the construction work happening in 1907. You got radio playing in 1968. Then we're going to throw it all the way back to 1620 for an individual on the hunt. Okay, so it's always this space, but the panels can split up throughout all of human history. And you get this formalistic comics explosion of possibility in a work that sells the absolute weight of time in human history. So much has come before and so much will come after, and that's just one room. It's really cool stuff. Now, the challenge with Here is you can read the big old graphic novel. Okay, out from Pantheon Comics. It's, 300 some pages of this, I think. It's got some really interesting ideas. Sometimes it's kind of doing the Alan Moore-ish, the things people are saying in different years kind of connects. Sometimes it all of a sudden throws a Revolutionary War familiar figure at you, but mostly it's people you won't know. Okay? So sometimes it feels like there's thematic connection. Sometimes it feels like it's just random things happening in different periods of time. It's a very interesting way to go through it. About halfway through, I was like, I think I got it. I don't want to keep going. I pushed through, and I was glad that I did. What I would actually recommend you start with, though, is the original here debuted in Raw Magazine in 1989. Raw Magazine is super famous in comics art circles as the magazine curated and led by Art Spiegelman and his wife, Art Spiegelman being the cartoonist behind Mouse, obviously one of the most famous graphic novels of all time. So Raw Magazine was like this super like avant-garde artsy comics thing, and Richard McGuire's original story was, I don't know, like 8-9 pages. And you can actually read it for free right now on this website. You just Google "Here" by Richard McGuire. You will find this. You'll find the original, which mostly seems to start in 57, and then by the bottom of the first page, we're dropping to 22. We're in 57 again, 1971, 57. And so, again, this is like an 8-page version of this, which kind of just explodes the possibility and the format. And I think what's especially crazy about this is, like, I had never heard of this work. It's amazing. It's hugely influential. And it's still kind of eye-opening what it suggests for the possibility of what you can do just within a single panel of comics, right? I mean, look at this. We got 73, 99 with the cat in the corner, 2000, 1960. That's like 4 comics within one panel on just one page. That's so damn cool. That's so smart. So I would recommend checking out that short story first, and then, you know, the big giant graphic novel. I mean, that comes out way later. So like the original story is 89. I think the graphic novel version was like 2014. It's a pretty different art style. It's a pretty different approach. But it's cool as hell. It's cool as hell and clearly very influential. So Richard McGuire's Here is going to go definitely within the top 500. And I'm kind of ranking both the short story and the graphic novel together when I do this. So at my note, I said I got to look in the 350 territory. It's better than Sword, X-Men Red, Resurrection of Magneto by Al Ewing. Why Don't You Love Me Here? I've got it 343. This is one of my favorite comics of last year by P.B. Rainey. This one just got an option as an A24 movie with Jennifer Lawrence attached. Almost a Jennifer Lopez. That's where my head's at. So let's go. Is it better than Tekken Kincrete by Teo Matsumoto? It's certainly more inventive. I didn't enjoy reading it more. So I'm going to put it right here. It's going to go in at our 348. I feel pretty good about that. That's Here by Richard McGuire. That's going to go in at the new 348 on Comic Book Herald's Best Comics of All Time, which is always you can find by going to CBH or searching for the best comics of all time. We did it. We did it. All right. Get in your final questions. Get in your final thoughts. I will happily address them here in the waning hours of CBH Live. Let's see. What do we got? Earth905 asks, Dave, where do you have Thanos Wins by Cates? It's a personal fave, and I'm just curious. You know, it's funny that you ask, because I just said how high Cosmic Ghost Rider was. Let's see. I have Cosmic Ghost Rider higher than Thanos Wins. That's concerning. You should, if you're like, what? Yeah. I'm weirded out by that too. I don't love Thanos Wins nearly as much as I think a lot of folks did. I actually think the Jeff Lemire Thanos run that came right before, it was right before, was better. I'm 1,000,000% in the minority on that one. I'm pretty sure. But 526 is super high. Jeff Shaw's art on that is awesome. It's an incredibly engaging Thanos story. I'm very sensitive and protective of non-Jim Starlin Thanos stuff. And the Cates and Shaw Thanos thing, I mean, come on. If you handed that to like anybody today and we're just like, hey, here's a great Marvel comic, like 80% of the time you're gonna hit. You're gonna hit on that. So I'm not the biggest fan of it, but you know, That's still pretty good. We got several votes for an Al Ewing Mr. Miracle, which, okay, here's why I wouldn't want that, actually. Because Tom King and Mitch Gerads, like, they owned Mr. Miracle so hard. I would not want. I think it's done. I kind of think Mr. Miracle's done. You could have Scott and Barta on teams. I would rather have like a genuine fourth world Al Ewing thing, not just Mr. Miracle. I guess is where I'm going with that. Let's see. Silhouette says Ram V and Evan Cagle will announce their DC book at San Diego Comic-Con, which will likely be New Gods. Speaking of New Gods, Silhouette breaking some news from somewhere. I mean, that'd be a great fit. I think everybody wants, like, Fourth World is the book you put a creator you really like on as this like platonic idea. It's Fourth World or Legion of Superheroes. You like put like any creator you really like and think is brainy and talented. You put them on Fourth World or you put them on Legion of Superheroes, and you're like, go, let's see that DC as this platonic ideal of like a netherworld between creator owned and like licensed DC comics. And it never actually happens, and it never really works. So I'll believe a genuine Fourth World book when I see it. I feel like Rom's been out there saying people are never going to guess what it is, so I'm kind of skeptical that would be true. Let's see. Travis asks, Dave, what are your thoughts on Boom Studios getting bought out by a Penguin? I believe here you mean Boom Studios was bought by Penguin Random House. That happened this week. Big news in the world of comics retail. I'm not an expert on that space or the monopolies of publishing enough to say one way or the other. I think the sort of fear-based consensus seems to be it's not a great thing if smaller publishers are all bought into a vertical monopoly of one giant publisher. That seems to generally be true in other industries. It's probably a very difficult time for those who work in like marketing or distribution or publication editorial channels on Boom about what this means for their futures and their jobs. So, my thoughts are with those people in what is probably a challenging time. I'm sure it's exciting for the owner who gets whatever sick amount of money they get, selling to Penguin. It's a weird one. It's definitely gonna have major ramifications because Penguin also entered as like a comics distributor during the Diamond implosion, through the pandemic. So I could not possibly navigate the ins and outs of that until we see it. I think, kind of my gut reaction was Boom's been releasing some really cool comics. This seems like the sort of thing that could mess with that, right? Like has obtaining a giant corporate overlord helped a Marvel? It certainly hasn't helped a DC, right? I think Warner Bros. Has been a massive net negative for DC, but they've been with them longer. And with Marvel, with Disney, I don't know. You can kind of argue one way and argue the other. So with Boom and Penguin, I mean, Penguin's less of like a corporate behemoth, and they're publishing focused. Could this mean releasing manga-sized versions of, Ram V's The Many Deaths of Layla Starr? And some interesting different publishing kind of things, like maybe. I don't know, maybe it nets out in some cool things as well. But yeah, I think there's clearly hesitancy about if this is actually a good thing for the world of comics. I don't know. I'm not as precious about the direct market, I think, as a lot of longtime comics fans are. I like it. I love having a comic shop to go to. It has brought me tremendous joy, but I also understand that it is a very antiquated, often intimidating experience for the way the world actually works now and the way people actually consume material and find material and all that stuff, right? So there's going to be a lot of fallout. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout. All right. But we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens. All right. Any final thoughts or questions? Get them in right now. I think I'm going to take my first sip of water tonight. That's a shock. Can't believe this is the first time. Mr. Evil Dr. Porkchop asks, Dave, are you watching Major League Cricket? I'm not. Why would you think that I am? Just like a recommendation, like I should be? Open Mike Glass, doesn't Penguin distribute Marvel? I don't even know anymore who does what. They were doing DC. No, DC was Lunar. And then maybe Penguin is Marvel, or maybe they just do the Scholastic graphic novels. I'd have to look all that stuff up. I don't know. I mean, to me, those are like, they impact the way the direct market works and the way comic shops work. But I don't, those are very like in the weeds business of running a comic shop thing, which I always find interesting. But like, that's not information I need. Mr. Evil Dr. Porkchop says, yeah, cricket's good is all. Thanks for the rec. Thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate it. I don't think I've ever watched a second of cricket in my life. Not because I object to it, I just never have made the time. It's not big here in the States. I would happily watch some Olympic cricket in between watching Steph go off for Team USA this year. I would love to watch some. Is it an Olympic sport? I hope so. I'd love to watch some cricket. Earth905 asks, Galactus versus the Maker, who you got? Clearly the Maker. That just happened in Ultimates #2. There was a scene of it. Obviously, the Maker did something to make Galactus go away. We don't know what yet. That's so fun. That's such a fun way of saying this thing happened. It could have happened any one of a million ways your imagination can go. Have at it, nerds. I love that. Great use of Maker v. Galactus. Mr. Evil Dr. Porkchop says, U.S. just beat Pakistan in the World Cup. No kidding. So clearly we should stop focusing on soccer, which we just cannot get, and we should move to cricket. The U.S. won cricket? Isn't that like, I don't know exactly which regions of the world are predominantly cricket based, but I'm shocked to hear the U.S. is great at that. Are we normally good? I had no idea. All right, coming to the Olympics in L.A. 2028. Get ready, baby. Oh, the Olympics are in L.A.? Sorry for the residents of Los Angeles. That's gonna suck. There was a window where it was like Chicago 2020 or something like that, and just everyone in Chicago was like, "Oh God, no, no." I don't know why you would want the Olympics in your city. No idea. All right, thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you all being here every week. Let's do a quick. So here was me looking up how to spell resurrection. Can never get that one right. Let's see, per our friends at League of Comic Geeks, what is coming out next week that might be of interest? We got Ultimate X-Men #5 by Peach Momoko. Checking that puppy out. I am going to do a little Tom King Wonder Woman catch-up. What do y'all think of that one? Is that one going to wow me? I'm skeptical. Is Al writing the Immortal Thor annual? Yes. Okay, we'll be reading the Immortal Thor annual with the Infinity Watch. What else am I reading next week? Phoenix #1, we'll check it out. We'll talk about it. So am I still waiting for this world to stop hating. What's the furthest place from here? #19. That's a read for me. Anything else on the solo issue? I Heart Skull Crusher. Now an ongoing. Speaking of Boom Studios having some great comics. If you haven't checked this one out, check it out. Little sports manga flavor in a direct market book. I Heart Skull Crusher. It's very good. It's going to be all on a 2024 best of list for sure. Okay, and then I'm going to do best comic of the week, best catch-up of the week every week, except for those when I'm not prepared and not ready. But otherwise, I'll be here. We can talk comics. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And how do I end these things? Enjoy the comics.